Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of the world. It's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Filter. I'm joined by a special guest. I'm actually joined by two special guests. I'm joined by Professor Emeritus, is plural, Dr. Rita Chung and Dr. Fred Bemak. Now, I think I've talked about this earlier. I am a product of the Mason Counseling Program, and I'll give a lot of credit to that program for changing a lot about my life, both personally and professionally. I'm sure my wife would agree that I'm a little bit more emotionally in tune because of that counseling program. But I have these great professors, rock stars in the counseling field, just to share a little bit about the counseling program and things I didn't know about. So, Dr. Chung, Dr. Bemak, please feel free to introduce yourself for this great conversation today.
Okay, thank you, Phil, and such a pleasure to be here. And it's so great to see alums from the program, such as yourself, has just completely, just blown the top in terms of our expectations and in terms of where you are in your career. And it's just so, this is one of the reasons why we're in the field of teaching, right? To help our students grow, but you guys have just grown so incredibly. I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And counseling guru. How about you, Mr. Bemak, Dr. Bemak?
It is just wonderful being here. Philip is the model, one of the models of the people, of the reason anyone gets an education. And Philip's doing the same thing now with the next generation, and it's incredible to watch. So pleased to be here, so pleased to be part of the counseling mental health world. And here we go. Let's just open up the conversation.
Let's do the origin story. Both of you had careers before this, but what brought you to George Mason?
That's a long story, and we're going to go back and forth. That's our style, right? Okay. We were at that stage at another university, and we were about to leave it, and we were offered 5 jobs.
Okay.
Actually,
six different universities.
6 different universities.
All over the United States?
All over the U.S.
Okay. California to the East Coast.
Right. We were serious about the California, because I wanted to live in California as well. So of course, and we were about to sign a contract, and we heard from George Mason. Okay. It was the Monday. They called, and we told them we're about to sign a contract, and they said, we heard about it. Before you do, what we were told, put a hold on it, come out and see what Mason's like.
Okay.
We hadn't applied to George Mason.
You were scouted. You were kind of headhunted a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we got headhunted, right.
I don't know headhunted, but somehow the word got out, and so they said, please come and see us. We were going to sign the contract on Friday.
Yes.
It was Monday.
What year, just time-wise?
Oh my gosh. 2000, because we came here in August 2000. Was our first
turn of the century. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Turn of the century. And so we said, well, we're about to buy a house in California and move to California. They said, please come out. Come out. It's Monday. Come out on Wednesday. We said, and we looked at each other and said, okay, we'll come. I don't think so. And George Mason, where is that? And what is that? It wasn't very well known at that point.
It's pre-2006, right?
Exactly.
So what was your first instinct when you came here? Was it like, I'm pretty sure, and the office was in Robinson?
Robinson.
Yeah, so what did you touched down, what was your first, because the campus changed a lot, but what was your first instinct when you saw the campus?
Well, it was also the time when tulips were out, so that helped. Because we sort of, as we were walking from the car park to Robinson, tulips were everywhere, so that was a good sign. But I was still thinking, California is where I want to be.
Okay.
It's close for me to fly home in terms of an overseas flight. But it was very surprisingly interesting because when we met with the dean said, "What would you like to do?"
There you go.
And so we said, I'm not being rude or disrespectful, but this program is really outdated.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to come here with this type of program. So the dean, who had a lot of vision, said, what would you do with it?
Oh, yeah.
I said social justice, multiculturalism, and at that time in 2000, even our field in counseling, social justice wasn't in the radar. People couldn't quite understand what that meant.
Yeah.
So we said social change. They said, oh, okay.
And multiculturalism,
Yeah.
if it existed at all, was one class, and it was not talked about in the curriculum at all all across the country in programs. So that was essentially non-existent. It was a check mark. Yes, we've covered diversity.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a blank canvas, right? And saying that was, so you had this fork in the road, but then you got to George Mason and you had to provided this opportunity to build the curriculum as you wanted.
Correct.
Did you already, and just kind of curious, did the school in California, were they not going to allow you to do that? Or that was more the deciding factor, or more so like just the opportunity to have a fresh, build your own was very attractive?
Exactly what you said, the latter. It's the fact that, I think, Fred, we were in separate interviews, and you, unbeknownst to me, Fred, you said the same thing to the dean.
I said to the dean, because we had nothing to lose, we had 6 offers.
You already had an offer, right?
And I said, this is a really stale program.
Use the word stale.
I used the word stale, and the dean shook his head and said, nodded, and said, I said, this is stale, it's not very interesting, and I wouldn't be interested to work here, but what I would be interested in would be the possibility of, and then again, the same thing as Rita was saying, as social justice and diversity, a different kind of program.
Yes, I love it. So obviously as academics, and I'm getting into getting my PhD and all that stuff, you had to build out a curriculum, and to your point, you said you wanted the diversity, multiculturalism, and social justice to be the run-through every class, rather than just one class. So
the foundation of all the classes.
Yeah, so talk about a little bit about that brainstorm. Like, how did that work? Like, you got all the classes that were already there, and you're like, how can we throw it into every class? Like, how did that?
Exactly.
Do the mad scientists, how did that work?
Exactly. It took us about a year and a bit.
Okay.
Which means that they had all their old faculty left. They did hire 2 faculty from the counseling PhD program.
Yes.
Which was good because they knew what their policies were and everything, and can give us some sort of history of the background.
Yeah.
They were open because we told them that if you're going to come into our program, we're looking at social justice and multiculturalism. They said yes. They weren't quite sure what social justice was, but they weren't. So which means weekend retreats, all-day retreats, the amount of retreats we went. And again, we wanted to make sure that the existing 2 faculty are on board. We want to buy in. I mean,
it's like a new team. Like you're
a community.
Like
it was a community.
If you're coming in as a coach, you're like, it's a new team. You're building a new team, and you have a new offense. You're like, either you get in with the new system or you don't. But, but not in a bad way, because like this system, if you're not jumping on board, it's not going to work. So
it was a new team and a new game.
Yeah. Okay, new game too.
It was a new game.
Right. And then previously, we've heard from other faculty, our friends, faculty members, and in some ways, we both experienced some real toxic counseling program. Toxic in terms of the faculty. We didn't want any of that. Yeah. So we were very transparent with the folks that were there, as well as folks that we hire, that this is it. If you're not on board with social justice, multicultural, infused throughout the whole curriculum, then this is not the program. This is not a good fit for you.
Yeah, it's not a good fit for you. I love that.
Yeah.
Because that took hold, and it was actually a leader in the United States in moving this. We were the only program in the United States with a social justice course. With social justice and multiculturalism in every class we had.
I remember that.
With the only program in the country, and it took hold. And so what happened is other programs around the country started to emulate and use this as the model.
Yeah.
Right.
And
We actually rewrote about 90% of the curriculum.
So you really, like I said, like you had to go through and rehaul
Exactly, and retool. And it also meant at the same time as we're putting these courses together, we helped the faculty think about what type of social justice assignments are we going to have in assessment class, in the diagnosis class, in human growth and development. I mean, of course, it fits in terms of multiculturalism, and then also what the reasons why we had a standalone social justice class.
Yeah.
So,
And it's funny is I always say that those were the most impactful classes in my experience. Well, 3, group 2. No, actually 4. I'm about to say the whole program, the career class, because then that's what I found my lane. So I had to give shout out to credit, but the multicultural, the group class, and the social justice class. But I was also saying with Dr. Chung, I didn't even know that this was a rock star thing. I didn't even know this was a new thing.
Right.
I didn't know until I went to the ACA conference that this was innovative. Because my lens was like, I thought every program,
This is how it is.
I thought every class taught it. So as you're building this out, I'm thinking about learning outcomes and having to prove it. What was some of the metrics that you needed to provide to say, when we build out this program, we're building out this innovative program, and the dean got the buy-in, not guarantee, but these are going to be the positive outcomes to kind of like get the buy-in from the administration.
We had over a short period of time, we became the most competitive program to get into in George Mason University.
Was it competitive when I did in 2009?
Oh, yeah.
It was.
Oh, yeah, it was competitive.
Congratulations.
I didn't know that. I was happy to be here. I thought it was down the street.
The most competitive in the whole university to get into. And when we
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think I would have got scared.
This was just your experience was perfect because it was just what it was. We didn't go around saying, "Oh, we're doing this," or it's not. This was just how it was, and all the students said, "Oh, this is how it is." And people like you and other students would go to these national conferences and say, "You don't do that," or "That's not how you do it," or "Wow, we do it differently." The other measure was when we would advertise for faculty positions.
Yes.
Here we were, George Mason University. It wasn't well known in counseling in the past. Here suddenly we would have 250 applicants for a professor for one job.
Okay.
That's unheard of in the counseling field. And so we would have to narrow down from 250 applicants to one person we would honor.
And it was just getting through the, like I said, maybe the association space, like it was getting known in ACA and all these different spaces, and word of mouth and all that.
Right.
And then obviously I think, one of the positives of school and mental health is that, I tell people within the Northern Virginia area, you can't, if you say that they're working as a school counselor, I say about 60% of them have the George Mason tie, right?
Yeah.
So the alum are probably the big,
Right.
Yes.
Our people that come through our counseling program get employed and also become really good part of the work.
Exactly.
And
And the thing is that both Fred and I, we were writing and presenting.
Yes,
so we were beginning to, we were a group that helped shape ACA, American Counseling Association, as well as APA, the American Psychological Association, bringing social justice in the forefront.
Yeah, you were the subject matter experts.
Yeah,
and you continuously put yourself out there in that space to be known in that space.
Right. And I think during our hire, the deans were confident. I mean, they saw our track record in terms of our academic work, our scholarship, our teaching. So we just said, trust us, and give it a go. The social justice class, I think it took you 2 years because social justice class, the first social justice class was in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah. Never before. No, I still get people who will email me and say, how do you teach that? What content?
Yeah.
What are the assignments? Do you remember the character assignments we
Oh yeah, I remember mine. Mine was like the movie John Q. I still remember it.
Yeah.
I was like my wife was like, you can't remember to tie your shoes, but you remember every assignment. I could tell you almost every assignment that I had through that counseling program just because it was like I said, it just left things. Like mine was like, imagine if you bought like an organ from an organ farm and you got caught by the police, like a police raid.
Right.
And I was like, John Q. I was like, I'll do what it takes, and I had to do that,
Exactly.
And I remember all those different assignments, but yeah, it definitely. How do you know if they land? You know, because I think as we think about pedagogy and testing out, how do you know that these courses were landing with the students? Like that first year, what was your retest to see? Wow, this is an assignment I want to keep.
Right. Good.
Retention rates. No one left.
People leave counseling programs.
Yep.
Okay. Like I'm saying some of this stuff. Like I was like, I didn't know that. I thought everyone stayed. Like come in, come out.
Because that was your experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But people stayed, and people got excited.
Yeah.
But we always said we have to take care of home base first. Home base was the program.
Yes.
Then, on top of that, do research, go to conferences, present,
get yourself out
engage in national and statewide events, but take care of the home base and make it good. And then the other things are okay. Don't make the other things priority and home base falls apart.
That's always a great philosophy. What I was thinking as you build it, you said you came in 2000 and you were prototyping. When did you feel like not say like you felt like you had established a firm foundation? So like 2000 you got here. When did you feel like, okay, this is the program we really built, and now it's the machine, not say the machine, but it's like in a flow of like stability to what you like?
It's in the flow of stability, maybe a couple of years, but I think we're always tweaking.
Okay.
Because I feel that if we get stagnant, if we go, oh, this is great, we don't need to do anything else, then I think it becomes stale. But there's always new things that we can think of, new type of assignments. We help like for the career program class. We help the professor teaching that in terms of what are assignments. Let's bring everything up to date. You talked about the social justice character that got assigned to you. Each student gets assigned a different social justice character. These are people out in the real world. And these are the people that you may see. I mean, our students, once they leave the program, you may come across that. And I don't want our students to be blindsided, go, wow, I didn't realize the poverty rate. Wow, I didn't realize about,
socioeconomic barriers.
Exactly,
to access.
all these others going on. So I want them to feel it. I want them to experience it in our class so we can work on it.
Just for the audience to explain this character stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Because people don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
In the classes, Rita, you and I sat down and said, how can we make this come more alive? And we designed something that actually won an American Psychological Association award for that class, for the teaching, that teaching. But the characters were, students were assigned characters walking into the class that they had to live with and be for the whole semester, and then they had to, as that character, come into the class at one point and present that character and then have a tough encounter with the class and with the professor about what do you mean about that, and how come you think racism is no good, and what's that about? And so there was a real intense learning. Not only did they research the situation that character had, whether it be poverty or health or disability, whatever it was, they had to research it, but they had to be that character in the class and present them as, this is who I am and what it's about as me.
One of the things I did like about that too is then it gave you like access to most times when we think of counseling, the model was how mental health for white men. And that's not representative of the world, right? And I love, we talked about, I remember in your class, we talked about coining and cupping and saying, okay, how do we look at that from a frame like, that's not abuse, that was a different thing. And so like having to have your antennas open to your own biases as you help people. And like now, I think it's always very ever present. Like when I say, oh, just do that, or just, networking, why don't you shake my hand? And you realize that's a cultural thing, right? Like, there's deference and covering and different cultures that now that's always attuned to thinking like you can't have a universality to how you treat people or mental health.
Well, it's definitely not a one size fit all.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's what we're saying, that you need to be open to differences, even the differences that it may not be your value system. You need to understand and appreciate where it's coming from. The whole belief behind a lot of this was,
in the class, what we would see what we'd seen in the field numerous times was counselors would go out and they'd come back and someone would come to them and say, I'm really upset, I'm being discriminated against.
Yeah.
I'm being bullied. I'm being told that who I am, what my race or ethnicity is bad, it's awful, and they'd say, okay, let me help you feel better. Meanwhile, all those issues would continue
100%.
without any change. And we came in and said, wait a second, we've got to get in the middle of that. So it's not only to help the person deal with it, but it's to change the circumstance so they don't have to keep dealing with it. Too many counselors go out and say, okay, we're going to help you feel better, but nothing's changed around them.
Yeah, systems, right? I think about it, right? It's like
Exactly.
It's almost like a health thing, right? You're gonna say like, I'm gonna help your health issue, then you go back to a house where like secondary smoke, like everyone's smoking, right?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you're like,
Exactly.
I'm gonna help you and be individually fit, and then you go back to an unfit
Exactly.
environment that's counterproductive to the
So
work.
Exactly.
that's exactly right,
Systems.
and that's why in when we wrote the social justice book, we include chapters on leadership. We include chapters on advocacy.
Yeah.
Every counselor should know about leadership and advocacy in their everyday counseling
100%.
as part of it.
I ain't gonna lie, like I don't even, to be honest with you, and this is not me just kissing butt right now, but I'm saying that in a sense like I don't have any aspirations to be a mental health professional. But with the classes and the things I learned in this class, it has been tremendously helpful to look at systems as like I'm getting my PhD in communication, to look at that social justice class to say,
Yep.
you know, what are the systems in which are creating disparities? But I have one question, and I know we got to go because they're on a world tour. My question is, you're a guru in group. Talk a little bit about bringing that into the curriculum. Was that innovative? Was that different? Like I said, that was a very unique experience for me to be in the group class.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about bringing that to the program.
We are in a world. We are in a world right now where people are becoming increasingly disconnected.
Yep.
Socially. We've got technology that people are doing incredible things with, but the interpersonal relationships are really a struggle right now.
Yes.
And my take has always been to be community, to be mentally healthy, to be connected to the world, oneself and others. One has to understand interpersonal dynamics, interpersonal relationships, not just on a superficial way, but in a deep way, particularly if we're a mental health professional. Yeah. And so my take has always been we need to dig in deeply into our own interpersonal stuff. Yeah. Understand who we are in relationship to others, and there are ways to bring that into graduate programs. That's not typical in the way we did it here around other. That was just the importance of how do we build that in, and along with that deep understanding of ourselves and of others and the connection between the two. Yeah. How do we build in multiculturalism and justice as part of those interpersonal relationships?
Yeah, the group class is crazy. I was about to say, like, you had people in tears, thinking about, like, talking about it and bringing up stuff. And like I said, once again, this is good training for life and not this. So now, even in a staff meeting, I'm thinking, like, who's monopolizing the conversation? Who's the leader? You know, is there underlining tension?
Yes.
I now got vibration. I was like, I could be in a very tense meeting, like, yikes. Like, no one cursed at each other, but I could feel the energy.
That's
like,
right.
man, that was kind of off. You know, like,
that's
and
right.
I text my boy, like, you know, like, that's off because you see, like, contention and all that, and, like, group harmony. So, you know, that was just, I think about how much it shows up in normal life. The classes that you taught just shows up in normal life dynamics.
And if I could add to what you just said, Philip, it's also, and what do you do with that awareness? That's the key. Okay, so in my role in this group, how can I contribute to making it better than people steaming quietly?
Well, I liked what you did sometimes, and it was very simple, and I use this all the time, is like, just say what you're observing.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this is really tense in here. Does anyone else feel that way? And then you're like this, and you're like, well, I wonder why. And then I remember one time I was doing a video, and they're like, someone was like, what techniques did you use? And all this Freudian and Carl Jung. And I was just like, thinking, I was like, paraphrase, I use that a lot, active listening. And then doing the one where I just call out, like, hey, I see you shaking your head. Do you agree with me? And I was like, oh my God, you're so good at talking to people. And I literally was just like, or just using things like, I can call out what I've seen. So using the group thing, I would say like, wow, we need to come to a decision. Mm-hmm. I see that we're not going to make any, as a leader, I'm using it around in board meetings and things like that. Like, I see that we have issues. I see that you're not agreeing with so-and-so, and just call it out and say it in a nice way, but just be very stoic about it. Like, what I observe and talk about that and also talk about my positionality. Sometimes I even say that, like, I understand I'm getting a little worked up, about this topic.
Excellent.
I'm letting y'all know because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Are y'all passionate about it too? And they're like, no. Okay, bet. And so some of these things are great life things.
Sure.
That even brought up in like family. Like, I think you got the intergenerational living.
Yes.
I'll tell you, like, one, I live with this family. I think, like I said, you get along with my late father-in-law. They would process all the time. I was like, I never met a family that talked, like, I'm a military, black family. We don't talk about feelings like that as much. And so they'd be like, afterwards, they're like, Philip, how do you feel about this decision of moving together? I'm like, what? Like, stop asking me. So they always, and then after a party, like, wow, that was a really interesting thing. Who did you talk to? They would process everything.
Yes.
And talk about everything because got a social worker, grandmother, or mother-in-law, my wife. My father-in-law was, I think part of the hippie movement or something. He was always talking about feelings and stuff and listening to Peter, Paul, and Mary and all this stuff. So, but they would process, and so I think it shows up. And now, once again, to say that this comes out in normal life, I'm doing it as a father.
Exactly.
So we talk about that too, like with our kids. Basically, every time we eat a meal is group dynamics, right? And like, and feelings and using I statements and I was like, sometimes it's not, it shows up in everyday life. It's theoretical and there's a science to it, but also it's a very humanistic thing. Like understanding that like empathy is a humanistic thing. We can talk about the science of it and putting it in people's shoes, or we can just say like, I don't have this person's lived experience. Let me at least just be kind or compassionate and listen and shake my head and just do basic stuff like that.
Exactly.
Part of that is being honest with yourself and honest with others.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Instead of holding back. I see.
Sure.
I see you. You seem upset.
Yeah.
It's just an honest statement.
Yeah, that's you. Like, just got me and saved my marriage. You gaslighting me, the apocalypse, like using all these things. But like all these things.
Yeah.
So this is my last question. We see an exacerbation of mental health issues. I'm on the counseling advisory board, and we're seeing a increase in applicants to the program that you brought.
Right.
Mental health is climbing. But one of my concerns is to scale is at like we get more counselors, but it's almost the same thing. What you're saying is not fixing the system. Right. So just talk a little bit like what are your thoughts on counseling programs in general, the need for mental health professionals, but also the systemic issues. Like I don't think we'll like ever catch up to enough. Like they're understaffed at every place that has mental health professionals. They're understaffed. But they're also probably burnt out, whatever. But there's always going to be, talk a little bit about what you see in the mental health field.
And I think I've been talking about this for many years. We both have. But at the moment, more so than ever. I think our field, we tend to be reactive. People come and see us because they have a problem, they're struggling. We need to be proactive, which means when I say advocacy, everyone say, yes, we got advocacy. Yes, advocacy is on our ethics and so on. But we just finished a study with also Dr. Joseph Williams, that was a former professor at George Mason. It just came from the social justice class. When I go and I talk around the world about social justice, when I ask who's for social justice, 100% hands go up. Yeah. When I say, what are you going to do about it? The hands slowly go down and people want to go underneath the table, What do you mean? You have to do something? Of course. So what the research has shown is that the intent, the knowledge, people know that there are injustices, there's human rights violations, they are motivated, they want to, the intent, but they don't do anything. So our study was looking at whether courage is the bridge between the intent and the action. And how can we teach counselors and future counselors to courage, to actually take that step forward? Because I think that's where we can actually address some of the systemic issues. Let's be proactive. And being proactive, I mean true, authentic advocacy and empowerment.
I mean, I think in totally like on board, I think that was a perfect marriage of like thinking about issues and thinking like, okay, we need to infuse policymakers and go talk to people, you know, like vote, you know, like I'm all about political, like, you know, political engagement and the agency of the people, not just our public officials, and going beyond. Like, are you upset? Write a letter to your congressperson, or you know, like, and you know, obviously, I also think about people protecting their agency. Like, I know I'm not going to tell you to go quit your job or stuff, but like, you still have a voice. Like, you still have a, you know, get a mom. You know, like moms didn't like drunk drivers. They started mad. You could do stuff in your lane that contributes to a cause, like
yes, and you know, we know that there are some realistic consequences, right? I mean, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. You could lose your job, you could lose your marriage, you could lose your family. Yes, that does happen, but it's your choice. But I think sometimes I hear people say, "I'm afraid," and I know fear to me keeps me honest. And I think back about Nelson Mandela, and I can't remember the quote, but basically he sort of said, you know, that it's good to have fear in some ways because that motivates you to do something. But don't let fear be the excuse on why you're not doing anything.
Yes, sir.
It's a cop-out to say, oh, I'm fearful. What about this? You know, if you really want to do it, then have the courage, find the courage in your heart to go out and do something. As you said, something, you know,
something within your agency. We all have agency.
Exactly. And our capacity. If you have to look out, if you're the main breadwinner for a whole family, you don't want to lose your job. I get that. But there are other stuff you can do. You can educate your colleagues. You can, you know, educate your family members.
You can
there is always something that you can do.
Volunteer, all that stuff. Use your voice. You maybe use your positionality.
Exactly.
You know, start a cause or nonprofit.
And,
you know,
and use your voice. Find your voice first. You know, don't let fear silence you. You know, and some of us, you know, especially people of color or community of color, we've been silenced for too long. Other people have died so that we could actually speak. So this is the time. If not now, when? Right?
Yeah.
So Martin Luther King, right?
No, but I was also saying that too. It's like I thought about that with. I was saying to someone the other day. It's like I get so upset about non-voting because I was like, my grandfather literally like had poll taxes and stuff. Yeah. So for me to not even exercise my vote is a disrespect to my ancestors. Yeah. So at least bare minimum I could participate in that, but taking it a step further. So I love what you're saying, and then I also love that like it's not the notion of have absence of fear. Bravery is really understanding you're afraid and doing it anyway.
Exactly.
And that's kind of cool because then if you got bubbles in your stomach, maybe that means you're doing the right thing.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Like, that means you're excited about it, right?
Right.
Or challenging it. I love it. So this is the part of the show called Shot for Shot, but we got two people, so I'm going to put y'all together. Y'all can ask me any question you want. I'm going to ask y'all a pair of questions together. You want to go first? I go first.
You go first.
Yeah. All right, what is one of the major, we already talked about, it's kind of softball. What is one of the major differences you see between America and New Zealand?
And the reason for New Zealand is because Rita and I, we live in New Zealand for over half the year. That's the reason for that question.
He likes to give context. I was just saying, New Zealand.
Exactly. You could have said Fiji. I don't know.
But it's comparing apple and oranges. It's a different country. It was colonialized by the British, so it's a former colony, but it has socialized medicine. We can get, everyone can have access to healthcare. Yes, there are long lines, but if it's an emergency, you go straight to the top.
So different systems,
You get free prescription, medication you need.
Medication is free in New Zealand.
Is it coming out of your taxes?
Yes, they're welcome no taxes.
But no one has to worry about whether I'll be able to get medication. Taxes are high, but medication is there if you need it.
And then what about just public transit? Because obviously, so they're utilizing, New Zealand is more, social democracy?
Yes.
And that's very interesting. And so, from looking outside, looking in, how about GDP wise? Are they happier in New Zealand?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not GDP, GHP.
GHP, right. They were in the top 10 anyway of
In the
happiness
top 10.
countries.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Is that-
GHP. I
Yeah.
love it.
When we came back, every year when we come back to America, and when we came back this year, it just is a blast in our face of how the anger at the airport. People are angry.
Yeah.
People aren't smiling at you. In New Zealand, you find 100 times more smiles on the streets. You find people saying hello and greeting and engaging much more with ease. There's the tension you feel walking into the United States is blatant. It's not just maybe one person here. It's a feeling.
You feel the vibration.
That you get.
Yeah. And we talked
very
about,
clear.
and so in terms of the bus, you catch the bus driver says good morning, you say good morning. Everyone, doesn't matter how young or how old they are, when they get off the bus, they say thanks, driver.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what's your one question for me?
This is going to be a real doozy.
What is it that you are taking out? The major parts that you are taking out of doing these podcasts?
Why am I doing this? Oh, okay.
Not why, but what are you personally taking from it and feeling really good about? Because you keep doing it and you do it well.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that going well. Funny thing is, one of the best lessons I ever learned about this podcast was that my father-in-law was like, you know what, you talk too much. You need to ask better questions. so at bare minimum, it helped me increase my active listening skills. And I always say that too, like, for me, I'm not monetized, but I think it's a way to purposely exercise something different, talking to new people, conversations, active listening, and just thinking about conversations drive the world. So that's one that I get out of it. And then two, I very rarely listen to my own episodes. Like, I don't like the sound of my voice, which is kind of funny, but I do listen to 3 episodes over and over and over again for myself. And the one I listen to is the one with my father-in-law who passed away, just to hear his voice and talk about intergenerational living.
Nice.
The one I did with my dad about his experience at BMI being one of the first black students, because ideally he shared things on that he never told me growing up. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this? Like, I thought he got straight A's. He was like, almost flunked out. I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. You never told me this stuff. But you're going to tell this invisible audience. And then the other one is the ones I do with my son, the archiving.
Very nice.
So
very nice.
I think what keeps me doing this is I believe these conversations, somewhere out the world, this is a way to help people that I'll never meet. But then two, it's an archive. Like, beyond this is a digital footprint that my sons could have a conversation with me. Or people, my sons mainly, can have a conversation and listen to this, and this is like a resource,
Fantastic.
right? It's like an oral history,
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's what keeps me driving is having these conversations.
That's great.
And I learn things. I've learned a lot about different people's careers. It's built my empathy because I'm like, I didn't know that people went through that. Like, I didn't know about that field of work, or I just asked a bunch of questions, so it helps me learn.
Fantastic.
So that's it.
If I can say, those who are listening right now, who are hearing this, please take Philip's message as something you can carry and for yourselves and do and give back and learn from and contribute. Give them an ovation, folks.
I just be talking and asking questions. And so I noticed that you're shaking your head. Yes. All right. So this is the part of the show. It's called shout outs and plugs. So shout out is an opportunity to show love to anyone you want to show love, and then plugs. These are things that you may be working on if you're doing continued leadership, whatever. You want to elevate to the listeners. I'll put them in the show notes, like links and books and whatnot. So this is the platform's yours.
Well, my shout out, I think, is to all our students, all the students I work with. I mean, it's been such an honor, such a pleasure to work with each one of you. And, I wanted to list all of you who've kept in touch with me and who've shown me how much they have advanced in the field, but I'm just worried that I'm going to miss someone out. But I know there's
just
a
lump them
lot.
all together.
Yeah, it's all together. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Phils out there that I could name. But well done, and thank you for taking up the challenge, because I know that I push my students, as you know, Phil.
Yeah.
I push them pretty tough because I want the best out of you. And thank you for having that courage to go on the ride with me. And pat yourself on the back, because you guys are doing so well. You're the future, you know, social justice advocate, counselors. Thank you very much.
I love that.
As I used to say in every class, I used to say, this isn't a class, it's a journey we're going to have together. And my shout out would be for all those journeys of all the students and all of you who weren't students, who are living a life and spending a moment in time listening to this podcast. Please take what you have, take your treasures, take your gifts, and bring them forward, both to our students. We know some of the things that you've gotten along the way because we were together for a moment in time. But for all of those others, please, particularly in the world we're in, please take this forward, bring it forward, and see if we can make our place a better place than we are in right now.
I love that. And in ways, the things that continue to engage. I'm gonna put your Google Scholar and all your research.
Okay.
I'll put the Google Scholar, and I'm gonna
I'll
put the book in there too. The Social Justice, Multicultural Psychology and Counseling, 2nd edition. I'll make sure to put that in the link for those that want to learn and read some literature. So, people of the world, thank you so much. As you know, every episode is dedicated to the memory of my late father-in-law, Jeff Kirsch, and the Jeff Kirsch Anti-Hunger Fund for all the work he did fighting food insecurity during his career. Also, if you're a member of the Mason community, please consider submitting a Pats for Patriots to show love and kindness to someone else. Please give this episode a like, subscribe, elevate it to whoever you think can benefit from it, and thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Positive Filter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.